Dude, my mom. Princess needs a husband, and I need a father. Please marry his. Asterisk Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Harmony, staring at the massive alien station floating in space ahead of them. The station looked like a crystal flower made of silver and gold, with long petals that caught the light from the nearby star. He had seen many alien structures in his 10 years as a space diplomat, but this one was special. This was the royal palace of the Zephyrian Empire. Captain, we're getting a transmission from the station, said Lieutenant Sarah Chen from her position at the communications console. Her fingers danced across the holographic display as she worked to establish a clear connection. Put it through. Jake replied, straightening his blue diplomatic uniform. The Earth Council had chosen him for this mission because of his ability to understand different alien cultures. Today, that skill would be tested more than ever before. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of what appeared to be a grand throne room. Tall columns reached toward a ceiling that seemed to shimmer like water. In the center of the room stood a figure that made Jake's breath catch in his throat. Princess Lyra of the Zephyrian Empire was beautiful in a way that seemed to belong to another world. Her skin had a soft blue glow, and her hair moved like liquid starlight. She wore robes that changed color as she moved, shifting from deep purple to silver to gold. But it was her eyes that captured Jake's attention. They were the color of Earth's oceans, and they held a sadness that seemed to carry the weight of entire worlds. "Greetings, Captain Morrison of Earth," Princess Lyra said, her voice carrying the musical quality that all Zephyrians possessed. "I thank you for accepting my request to meet." Jake bowed in the traditional Earth diplomatic manner. "Your Highness, it is an honor to meet you." The Earth Council was surprised to receive a personal invitation from the Zephyrian royal family. "How may we serve?" Princess Lyra glanced to her left, and Jake noticed a small figure step forward. It was a young Zephyrian, no more than a child by human standards, but clearly old enough to speak for himself. The boy had the same blue-tinged skin as the princess, but his eyes were brighter, more hopeful. "This is my son, Prince Kai, Princess," Lyra said, placing a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "He is the heir to the Zephyrian throne." Prince Kai looked directly at Jake through the screen, his young face serious beyond his years. "Captain Morrison, I have a very important question to ask you." Jake felt his crew shift nervously behind him. In all his years of diplomacy, he had never been addressed directly by alien royalty, especially not by a child prince. "Please, Your Highness, ask whatever you wish." The young prince took a deep breath, and Jake could see him gathering his courage. "Captain, my mother is a princess, and she needs a husband. I need a father who can help rule our empire and protect our people. Ancient laws of our people say that a royal marriage can unite two species in permanent peace." He paused, his voice becoming smaller but more determined. "Will you please marry her?" The bridge of the Harmony fell completely silent. Jake felt as if the entire universe had stopped turning. He looked at Princess Lyra, who had closed her eyes as if in pain. When she opened them again, they were filled with tears that sparkled like diamonds. "Kai, we discussed this," she said softly. "The captain has his own life, his own people to serve." But Prince Kai stepped forward, his small hands pressed against what Jake assumed was their side of the communication screen. "But Mother, the prophecies speak of a warrior from the third planet of the Sol system, a man who brings peace between the stars. Captain Morrison has ended 3 wars through diplomacy. He saved the Andromedan colonies from the plague. He is exactly what the prophecies described." Jake felt the weight of every eye on the bridge. Lieutenant Chen looked like she might faint. His security chief, Commander Rodriguez, was gripping the rails so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Even the ship's AI seemed to be processing this information more slowly than usual. "Your Highness," Jake said carefully, "this is ... unexpected. Could you help me understand the situation better?" Princess Lyra nodded, composing herself with royal dignity. "Captain, our empire is in great danger. The Void Hunters have returned. After 1,000 years of silence, they are a race of beings that consume entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space behind. Our military is strong, but we cannot face them alone." She gestured to a display that appeared beside her, showing a map of the galaxy. Jake could see dark areas spreading like an infection across several sectors. They have already destroyed the Kepler system and the Tau Ceti colonies. Our intelligence suggests they are moving toward the core worlds of several major civilizations, including Earth. The ancient alliance laws of our people, Prince Kai added eagerly, state that a marriage between royal houses creates an unbreakable bond between civilizations. If you marry my mother, Earth and Zephyria would become sister worlds. Our combined fleets could stop the Void Hunters. Jake rubbed his temples, feeling the beginning of a headache. Your Highnesses, I am deeply honored by this proposal, but I must point out that I am not royalty. I am simply a captain in the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Princess Lyra smiled for the first time since the conversation began. Captain, you underestimate yourself. Your actions have saved billions of lives. You have united enemies and brought peace to countless worlds. In the eyes of the galaxy, you are already a prince among your people. Prince Kai nodded enthusiastically. You would make a great father. I've studied human customs and Earth history. I know about baseball and pizza and those movies with the space battles. I could learn to be human too. Jake felt something warm and unexpected in his chest. The boy's enthusiasm was infectious, and there was something about Princess Lyra's quiet strength that drew him in. But this was impossible, wasn't it? Double quotes Jake started, then stopped. Your Highnesses, this is not a decision I can make alone. I would need to consult with the Earth Council, and there are many factors to consider. Of course, Princess Lyra said. But Captain, time is not something we have in abundance. The Void Hunters move quickly, and our scouts report they will reach the outer colonies within 6 months. Prince Kai pressed his face against the screen. Please, Captain Morrison. I know you're a good man. I can see it in your eyes. My mother needs someone strong and kind, and I need someone to teach me how to be brave like you. Jake looked at the boy's hopeful face, then at Princess Lyra's dignified desperation. Behind them, he could see the alien palace with its impossible beauty, and beyond that, the vast darkness of space where an ancient enemy was stirring. I will consider your proposal, Jake said finally, but I need time to think, and I need to understand more about what this would mean for both our peoples. Princess Lyra bowed deeply. That is all we can ask, Captain Morrison. You have our eternal gratitude for even considering this request. As the transmission ended, Jake stood alone with his thoughts and the weight of 2 civilizations resting on his shoulders. Jake paced back and forth in his private quarters aboard the Harmony. The room was small but comfortable, with a view of the stars through a large window. He had been walking the same path for 2 hours, trying to make sense of what had happened. On his desk sat a cup of coffee that had gone cold long ago, and beside it lay a holographic picture of his sister and her family back on Earth. A soft chime indicated someone was at his door. Come in, Jake called, not stopping his pacing. Lieutenant Chen entered, carrying a datapad and looking nervous. Captain, I have the preliminary reports you requested about the Zephyrian Empire and the Void Hunters. Jake stopped pacing and turned to face her. What did you find? Sir, the Zephyrian Empire controls over 300 star systems. They have one of the most advanced space fleets in the galaxy, specializing in energy shield technology and quantum weapons. Chen handed him the datapad. But Captain, the Void Hunters are? There's something else entirely. Jake scrolled through the information on the pad. The images showed dark, twisted ships that seemed to absorb light itself.
Well, what we're
dealing with, Lieutenant? According to galactic historical records, the Void Hunters appeared about 5,000 years ago. They're not exactly alive in the way we understand life. They're more like a force of nature. They consume entire star systems, breaking down matter at the atomic level and using the energy to grow stronger. Chen's voice grew quieter. Captain, in their last appearance 1,000 years ago, they destroyed over 50 civilizations before mysteriously disappearing. Jake sat down heavily in his chair, and now they're back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And this time, they seem more organized, more purposeful. Chen pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked the systems that had already been consumed. They're not just randomly destroying anymore. They're moving in a pattern, heading toward the most populated areas of the galaxy, including Earth, Jake said grimly. Including Earth. Sir. Jake studied the display for a long moment. Now, what about Princess Lyra's proposal? What do our cultural experts say about Zephyrian marriage customs? Chen shifted uncomfortably. Captain, I've been in touch with Dr. Martinez, our lead xenoculture specialist. She says that Zephyrian royal marriages are, well, they're binding, in ways that go beyond just politics. When a Zephyrian royal marries, they share something called a soul bond. It means they can feel each other's emotions and thoughts to some degree. That sounds complicated, Jake said. It is, sir. It also means the alliance would be permanent. Once bonded, neither partner can betray the other. It's physically impossible. Chen paused. Captain, there's something else. Prince Kai isn't just any child. He's what the Zephyrians call a star child, someone born during a cosmic event that happens only once every 1,000 years. According to their beliefs, he's destined to lead the galaxy through its darkest hour. Jake stood up and walked to the window. The Zephyrian station still floated in the distance, beautiful and mysterious. Has the Earth Council responded to my report? Yes, sir. They want to speak with you in 30 minutes. Emergency session. Jake nodded. Very well. Dismissed, Lieutenant. After Chen left, Jake sat alone with his thoughts. He thought about his life on Earth, his career in the diplomatic corps, and the quiet apartment he kept in New Geneva. It was a simple life, but it was his. Now he was being asked to give it all up for people he had just met. As he looked at the holographic picture of his sister's family, he realized something. If the Void Hunters weren't stopped, there would be no Earth to return to. No sister, no nephew, no humanity at all. 30 minutes later, Jake stood in the communication room, facing the holographic forms of the 12 members of the Earth Council. The room felt smaller, with all their projected images filling the space. Captain Morrison, said Council President Adams, a stern woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. We have reviewed your report. This is an unprecedented situation. Yes. Ma'am, Jake replied. I understand the gravity of the proposal. Captain interrupted Council Member Zhang. We cannot ask you to sacrifice your personal life for this alliance. The decision must be yours alone. Council Member Okafor leaned forward. However, we must consider the strategic implications. The Zephyrian fleet combined with our own forces could give us a fighting chance against the Void Hunters. Captain President Adams said, we've been analyzing the threat data. Our military advisors believe that Earth's defenses alone have perhaps a 20% chance of stopping the Void Hunters. With the Zephyrian alliance, that increases to 70%. Jake felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. What about the other galactic civilizations? Won't they help? Many are already falling back to protect their core worlds, Councilmember Petrov said sadly. The Andromedans have closed their borders. Centauri Federation is evacuating their outer colonies. Fear is spreading faster than the Void Hunters themselves. Captain, President Adams continued, we've also been in contact with Zephyrian diplomatic channels. Princess Lyra has ruled wisely for 20 years. She's respected throughout the galaxy as a peacemaker and strategist. This isn't just a political marriage. It would be a partnership between two strong leaders. Jake thought about Princess Lyra's sad eyes and Prince Kai's hopeful face. What about the boy, Prince Kai? Councilmember Chen smiled slightly. Our child psychologist reviewed the transmission. He's remarkably mature for his age, probably due to royal training. But he's also genuinely enthusiastic about human culture and seems to have formed a real attachment to you, Captain. Soul bond, Jake said quietly. What exactly does that mean? According to our experts, President Adams replied, it's a deep emotional connection. It's not mind reading, but a sharing of feelings and basic thoughts. Many Zephyrian couples describe it as feeling complete for the first time in their lives. Jake closed his eyes, trying to imagine such a connection. He had always been independent, self-reliant. The idea of sharing his thoughts and feelings with someone was both terrifying and strangely appealing. Captain Councilmember Zhang said, gently, we want you to know that whatever you decide, Earth supports you. If you choose to accept this proposal, you will have our full backing. If you choose to decline, we will find another way to face the Void Hunters. Jake opened his eyes and looked at each council member in turn. These people had trusted him with the most important diplomatic missions in human history. They had watched him end wars and save colonies. Now they were asking him to make the biggest decision of his life. "I need to speak with Princess Lyra." "Again," Jake said finally. "I need to understand what this marriage would really mean for both of us." Of course, President Adams said, "Captain, whatever you decide, know that humanity is proud of you." As the council session ended, Jake walked back to his quarters. Through his window, he could see the Zephyrian station. And for the first time, he wondered what it would be like to call it home. He thought about Prince Kai's eager face and Princess Lyra's quiet strength. He thought about the Void Hunters consuming star systems and the weight of two civilizations resting on his decision. Jake Morrison had faced many difficult choices in his career, but none had ever felt as important as this one. As he prepared to contact Princess Lyra, he realized that his answer was already forming in his heart. Jake stood in the communication room once again, but this time he felt different. The weight on his shoulders was still there, but now it felt like purpose rather than burden. He had spent the last 3 hours thinking, and he knew what questions needed answers. "Princess Lyra, this is Captain Morrison. I would like to speak with you again if possible." The response came quickly, as if she had been waiting by the communication device. Princess Lyra appeared on the screen, but this time, she was in what looked like a garden. Strange, beautiful flowers grew around her, their petals glowing softly in the alien sunlight. She was wearing simpler clothes now, flowing blue dress that made her look less like a distant royal and more like a real person. "Captain Morrison," she said, and Jake thought he heard relief in her voice. "I was hoping you would contact me again, Your Highness. I need to ask you some difficult questions." "Personal questions." Princess Lyra nodded. "I understand. This decision affects not just our peoples, but our lives." "Ask me anything." Jake took a deep breath. "Princess, I need to know, is this just a political arrangement for you? Or do you want this marriage for yourself?" For a moment, Princess Lyra looked surprised. Then she smiled sadly. "Captain, I will be honest with you. When my advisors first suggested this alliance through marriage, I thought of it only as duty. I have been alone for 5 years since my husband died, and I had accepted that love was not something I would have again." She moved closer to the screen. "But when I watched your diplomatic records, when I saw how you saved the Andromedon children during the plague, how you chose to stay with them when you could have evacuated, I realized that you are not just a skilled diplomat, you are a man of honor and compassion." Jake felt his heart beating faster. Prince Kai? How does he really feel about this? As if summoned by his name, Prince Kai appeared at his mother's side. He was wearing what looked like a junior version of military uniform, but his young face was serious. "Captain Morrison," the boy said, "may I tell you something important?" "Of course, Prince Kai. I have been studying human fathers for 3 months. I watched recordings of how they play with their children, how they teach them to be brave, how they protect their families." Prince Kai's eyes became brighter. "I lost my father when I was very young. I do not remember him well. I know that a good father is someone who stands between his family and danger no matter what." The boy paused, then continued with the wisdom that seemed too old for his years. "Captain, the Void Hunters are coming. It will destroy everything we love. But you are the kind of man who would stand between the galaxy and that darkness. Is why I want you to be my father." Jake felt something warm and protective stir in his chest. Prince Kai, being a father, is not just about protection. It's about teaching and learning together. It's about being there for both good times and bad times, I know, Prince Kai said eagerly. "I want to learn about Earth baseball. I want you to teach me how to be brave like you. I want to help you understand our people and our customs." Princess Lyra placed her hand on her son's shoulder. "Kai, let me speak with Captain Morrison alone for a moment." The boy nodded and bowed politely to Jake before leaving. Princess Lyra waited until he was gone, then looked directly at Jake with those ocean-colored eyes. "Captain, I need you to understand something about our culture. The soul bond is not just a ceremony or a political tool. When two people bond, they share their deepest selves with each other. You would feel my fears, my hopes, my love for my son, and I would feel yours. Jake considered this. Does that mean we would have no privacy? No independent thoughts? No, Princess Lyra said quickly. It is not mind reading. That is more like, imagine if you could feel when someone you care about is happy or sad, even if they are far away. You would know their heart, but their thoughts would still be their own. That sounds... Jake paused, searching for the right words. That sounds both wonderful and terrifying. Princess Lyra laughed, and the sound was like music. Yes, that is exactly what it is. But Captain, I have felt alone for so long. The idea of sharing my heart with someone who understands duty and sacrifice, it gives me hope. Jake was quiet for a moment. Princess, there is something I need to tell you. I've never been married. I've spent my life serving in space, moving from mission to mission. I do not know if I would be a good husband or father. Captain, Princess Lyra said gently, do you think any of us know how to be perfect spouses or parents? We learn together, we make mistakes, and we try to do better. But what if I cannot adapt to your culture? What if I fail? Princess Lyra moved even closer to the screen. Captain Morrison Jake. May I call you Jake? Yes, of course, Jake. I have ruled an empire for 20 years. I have made difficult decisions that affected billions of lives. But I have never met anyone who cares as much about doing the right thing as you do. That is the kind of man I want beside me when facing the Void Hunters. Jake felt his resolve strengthening. Tell me about the bond ceremony. What would happen? It is beautiful, Princess Lyra said, her eyes lighting up. We would stand together in the crystal chamber where the light of our sun creates rainbows. On the walls, we would speak vows, not just to each other, but to our peoples. Then we would touch palms, and the bond would form. And after that, we would face whatever comes together. The Void Hunters, the challenges of uniting our fleets, the task of raising Kai to be a leader. Princess Lyra paused. And perhaps, if we are fortunate, we might find happiness. Together, Jake looked at this remarkable woman who was offering him not just an alliance, but a chance at something he had never dared to hope for, a real family. Princess, I need to ask you one more question. If we do this, if we bond and unite our peoples, what happens to us personally when the war is over? Princess Lyra smiled. Jake, the bond is permanent. We would be connected for life. We would rule together, raise Kai together, and face whatever the future brings together. And if we grow to love each other, then we would be the luckiest people in the galaxy, she said softly. Jake felt his heart make the decision his mind had been struggling with. Princess Lyra, I would like to meet with you in person. I would like to visit your station and spend time with you and Prince Kai before I give my final answer. Princess Lyra's face filled with joy. Yes, of course, you are welcome here. We have prepared quarters for you and your staff. There's one thing, Jake said. I want to understand what I am choosing. Not just the duty, but the life. I want to know what it would be like to be part of your family. Jake, Princess Lyra said warmly, I think you already know. You felt it when you saw Kai's hope and heard his dreams.
Oh.
You felt it when you saw how much this means to our people. As the transmission ended, Jake realized she was right. He had felt it, the pull of belonging, the desire to protect this woman and her son, the need to stand against the darkness that threatened them all. For the first time in days, Jake smiled, was going to meet his future family. Jake stepped through the airlock, connecting the Harmony to the Zephyrian station, and immediately felt like he had entered a different world. The corridor was made of some kind of crystal that caught the light and scattered it in gentle rainbow. Patterns along the walls, the air smelled like flowers and rain, and he could hear soft music playing from somewhere far away. Lieutenant Chen walked beside him, carrying a diplomatic gift case. Behind them came Commander Rodriguez and Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's medical officer. They all looked around in wonder at the beautiful alien architecture. Captain Chen whispered, "This place is incredible. It's like walking inside a jewel." Jake nodded, but his attention was focused ahead. At the end of the corridor, he could see figures waiting for them. As they got closer, he recognized Princess Lyra and Prince Kai, but seeing them in person was completely different from the holographic transmissions. Princess Lyra was taller than he had expected, and her presence filled the space around her with quiet dignity. She wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight, and her blue-tinted skin had a soft glow that made her look almost magical. But it was her eyes that held Jake's attention. They were warm and intelligent, with a depth that spoke of years of wisdom and responsibility. Prince Kai stood beside his mother, wearing a formal uniform that was clearly sized for a young person, but still looked regal. The boy was practically vibrating with excitement, his eyes bright as he watched the human delegation approach. "Captain Morrison," Princess Lyra said, her voice carrying perfectly in the crystal corridor. "Welcome to Royal Station Zephyr. You're honored by your presence." Jake bowed in the Earth diplomatic manner. "Your Highness, thank you for receiving us. The beauty of your station exceeds all descriptions." Prince Kai stepped forward, unable to contain himself any longer. "Captain Morrison, I have been waiting for hours. I have so many things to show you," Princess Lyra said gently. "Let our guests adjust to our environment first." But Jake smiled at the boy's enthusiasm. "Actually, Your Highness, I would be honored if Prince Kai would show me around. I am very curious about your home." The boy's face lit up like a star. "Really? Come, I will show you everything." For the next 2 hours, Prince Kai led Jake through the station with the enthusiasm of a child showing off his favorite toy. They visited the crystal gardens where plants from a dozen different worlds grew in harmony, creating a symphony of colors and scents. They saw the training halls where young Zephyrians learned to fight with weapons made of pure energy. They stood in the observation deck and watched the star patterns that the Zephyrians used for navigation. "This is my favorite place, Prince," Kai said as they entered a room filled with books and holographic displays. "This is where I study. I've been learning about Earth history and human culture." Jake looked around the room and was amazed to see books about baseball, American history, and even some of his own diplomatic reports. "You have been studying me?" Prince Kai blushed, his blue skin turning slightly purple. "I wanted to understand who you are. Look, I learned how to say hello in 15 Earth languages." The boy proceeded to greet Jake in English, Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic, and several other languages. His pronunciation was not perfect, but his effort was obvious. "That is very impressive, Prince Kai," Jake said, genuinely moved by the boy's dedication. "I also learned about human fathers," Prince Kai said more quietly. "I know that human fathers teach their children to ride bicycles and help them with homework and tell them stories before sleep." Jake felt his heart clench. "Yes, that is true. What would you like to learn if I became your father?" "Everything," Prince Kai said immediately. "I want to learn about courage and honor and how to protect people. I want to learn about Earth sports and Earth food and Earth jokes. Most of all, I want to learn how to be a good leader like you." Before Jake could respond, Princess Lyra appeared in the doorway. "Kai, you have monopolized our guest long enough. Captain Morrison, would you join me for dinner?" The dining hall was a circular room with walls that showed the stars outside. The table was set with dishes that sparkled like gems, and the food was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. There were fruits that glowed softly, vegetables that changed color when touched, and a soup that seemed to contain actual starlight. "I hope the food is acceptable," Princess Lyra said as they sat down. "We have tried to prepare some dishes similar to Earth cuisine." Jake tasted the soup and was surprised by how familiar it tasted, despite its unusual appearance. "This is delicious. It reminds me of chicken soup, but ... more. Our cooks studied Earth food preparation methods," Princess Lyra explained. "We want you to feel comfortable here." As they ate, they talked about many things. Princess Lyra told Jake about the challenges of ruling an empire, and he shared stories of his diplomatic missions. Prince Kai asked endless questions about Earth, and Jake found himself enjoying the boy's curiosity and intelligence. Captain Princess Lyra said as they finished their meal, "I hope you do not mind me asking, but what do you think of us so far? Are we what you expected?" Jake considered his answer carefully. "Your Highness, I expected to meet skilled politicians and military leaders. I did not expect to meet a family." Princess Lyra smiled. "That is what we are above all else, Kai and I." We have been alone for so long. The idea of having someone to share our lives with, someone who understands duty and sacrifice, it means more to us than any political alliance. Suddenly, an alarm began to sound throughout the station. The lights changed from warm gold to urgent red, and Jake could hear the sound of running footsteps in the corridors. "What is that?" Jake asked, standing up. Princess Lyra was already moving toward a communication panel on the wall. "Emergency alert. Something is happening." She pressed a button. "Command Center, this is Princess Lyra. Report." A voice crackled through the speaker. "Your Highness, we have urgent news from the outer sectors. The Void Hunters have accelerated their timeline. They have destroyed the Kepler defense fleet and are moving toward the inner colonies. They will reach Earth space in 2 weeks, not 6 months as we calculated." Jake felt his blood turn cold. "Weeks." Prince Kai moved to stand beside his mother, his young face suddenly serious. "Mother, we must act now." Princess Lyra turned to face Jake, and he could see the weight of command settling on her shoulders. "Captain Morrison, I am sorry, but our time for consideration has run out. The galaxy needs our alliance now, or it will be too late." Jake looked at this woman who had opened her heart to him, at the boy who had already started calling him father in his mind. Behind them, through the crystal walls, he could see the stars, and somewhere among them, an ancient enemy was moving toward everything he had ever cared about. "Princess Lyra," Jake said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them, "I do not need more time. I have seen who you are, and I know what kind of family we could become together." He stepped forward and took her hand. "I accept your proposal. Let us save the galaxy together." Princess Lyra's eyes filled with tears of relief and joy. Prince Kai whooped with excitement and threw his arms around both of them. "When?" Princess Lyra asked. "Now," Jake said firmly. "If we only have 2 weeks, then we need to bond our peoples immediately. The Void Hunters will learn that humanity and Zephoria stand together." As alarms continued to sound in the station, prepared for war, Jake Morrison realized that he had found something he had never known he was looking for: a family worth fighting for, and a love worth dying for. The Crystal Chamber awaited. The Crystal Chamber was the most beautiful place Jake had ever seen. The walls were made of pure crystal that caught the light from Zephyr's sun and broke it into thousands of rainbow patterns. The floor seemed to be made of liquid starlight, and the ceiling showed the real stars above, as if they were standing in space itself. Jake stood at one end of the chamber, wearing the formal blue uniform of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Beside him stood Commander Rodriguez and Lieutenant Chen, who had insisted on witnessing the ceremony. At the other end of the chamber, Princess Lyra waited in robes that seemed to be woven from the aurora itself. They shifted from deep blue to purple to gold as she moved. Prince Kai stood between them, wearing a junior version of royal robes and carrying the ceremonial bonding crystals. His young face was serious, but Jake could see the excitement in his eyes. "Citizens of Zephyria and Earth," Princess Lyra began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber, "we gather today not just to witness a marriage, but to forge an alliance that will protect our peoples from the darkness that threatens us all." Jake felt his heart beating fast as he walked toward the center of the chamber. With each step, he felt the weight of responsibility, but also the warmth of belonging. This was his family now, and he would protect them with his life. "Captain Jake Morrison of Earth," Princess Lyra continued as they met in the center, "do you swear to stand beside me as we face whatever comes? Do you promise to help me rule wisely, to protect our peoples, and to be a father to my son?" Jake looked into her ocean blue eyes and saw not just a princess, but a woman who had opened her heart to him. "I swear it with my life and my honor." "Princess Lyra of Zephyria," Jake said, following the ceremony script they had practiced. "Do you swear to stand beside me as we face the darkness ahead? Do you promise to help me become the man our peoples need me to be?" "I swear it with my heart and my soul," she replied, her voice soft but strong. Prince Kai stepped forward, holding the 2 bonding crystals. They were beautiful stones that seemed to contain their own light, pulsing gently like heartbeats. These crystals were formed at the birth of our son, he said with the formal words he had memorized. They will help you share your hearts across any distance. Jake and Princess Lyra each took a crystal, and Jake felt a strange warmth spread through his hand. The crystal seemed to recognize him, glowing brighter as he held it. Now, Princess Lyra said, we create the bond. They pressed their palms together, the crystals between them. Jake felt a rush of sensation, warmth, light, and something deeper. Suddenly, he could feel Princess Lyra's emotions as if they were his own. Her nervousness, her hope, her deep love for her son, and underneath it all, a growing affection for him. I can feel your heart, she whispered, wonder in her voice. And I can feel yours, Jake replied. It's beautiful. The crystals flared with brilliant light, and Jake felt the bond settle into place. It was like finding a missing piece of himself he had never known was gone. Prince Kai whooped with joy and threw his arms around both of them. Father, mother, the bond is complete. Jake looked down at the boy and felt a surge of protective love so strong it almost overwhelmed him. Hello, son, he said softly. But their celebration was interrupted by the sound of urgent footsteps. General Zara, the commander of the Zephyrian fleet, burst into the chamber. Your Highnesses, she said, breathing hard, the Void Hunters have been detected at the edge of our sensor range. It will be here in 6 hours. Jake felt Princess Lyra's fear through the bond, but also her determination. Then we must move immediately, he said. Are our fleets ready? The combined Earth and Zephyrian forces are assembling now, General Zara replied. Well, Captain Morrison, we need your diplomatic skills. The other galactic civilizations are still hiding in their home systems. Without their help, we may not be strong enough. Jake nodded. I understand. Princess, can you handle the military preparations? Of course, she replied. But Jake, through the bond, I can feel your plan forming. You're going to do something? Dangerous. Jake smiled at her. I am going to do what I do best, talk to people. But you are right, it will be dangerous. I need to get close to the Void Hunters.
I know,
Prince Kai said immediately. Father, you just became my father. You cannot leave us. Jake knelt down to the boy's level. Kai. Sometimes a father has to do dangerous things to protect his family. But I promise you, I will come back. How can you promise that? Princess Lyra asked, her voice tight with worry. Because, Jake said, standing and taking her hand, I have something to fight for now. I have a family who needs me. 3 hours later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Harmony, but now he was not alone. Princess Lyra stood beside him, and the combined Earth-Zephyrian fleet stretched out around them. Ships from both worlds moved in perfect formation, their weapons charged and shields raised. Captain, Lieutenant Chen called out, we are receiving responses from the galactic civilizations. Andromedans are sending ships. The Centauri Federation is mobilizing. Even the Tau Ceti colonies are contributing forces. What changed there? Mines? Commander Rodriguez asked. The marriage, Princess Lyra said simply. When the galaxy saw that Earth and Zephyria were willing to unite permanently, they realized that this threat was real. They saw that we were not just asking for help. We were showing them how to survive. On the main screen, space itself seemed to darken as the Void Hunters approached. Their ships were massive, twisted things that seemed to bend light around them. Jake counted at least 50 of them, each one larger than anything in the combined fleet. All ships, Jake broadcast across the communication system. This is Captain Morrison. Today we fight not just for our worlds, but for the future of all life in the galaxy. We fight together, and we will win together. The battle was unlike anything Jake had ever experienced. The Void Hunters attacked with weapons that tore holes in space itself. But the combined fleet fought back with courage and determination. Earth's tactical flexibility, combined with Zephyrian energy shields, created a fighting force that was greater than the sum of its parts. Prince Kai watched from the station's command center, his young face serious as he tracked the battle. Mother. Father's in danger, he said through the communication link. I know, son, Princess Lyra replied, her hands steady on the ship's controls, even as Jake felt her fear through the bond. But he is fighting for us. We must be strong for him. Turning point came when Jake realized that the Void Hunters were not just mindless destroyers. They were afraid of the unity they saw in the combined fleet, afraid of the love and hope that connected the crews across species lines. All ships, Jake broadcast, they feed on fear and division. Show them the strength of unity. The combined fleet pressed forward, and Jake felt something amazing happen. Through the bond with Princess Lyra, he could sense the other crews, the other species, all fighting together. The Void Hunters, faced with such overwhelming unity, began to retreat. "They are withdrawing," General Zara announced. "The Void Hunters are leaving our space?" The celebration across the fleet was immediate and joyful. Jake felt tears in his eyes as he realized what they had accomplished. They had not just defeated an ancient enemy, they had shown the galaxy that unity was possible. Later, as the Harmony docked with the Zephyrian station, Jake found himself in the crystal chamber again, but this time he was not alone. Princess Lyra stood beside him, and Prince Kai ran to embrace them both. "We did it," Princess Lyra said, her voice filled with wonder. "We actually did it. We did it together," Jake corrected. "Earth and Zephyria united." Prince Kai looked up at his new father with shining eyes. "Father, will you teach me to be brave like you?" Jake smiled and ruffled the boy's hair. "Son, you already are brave. You asked a stranger to be your father to save the galaxy. That is the bravest thing anyone has ever done." As they stood together in the crystal chamber, surrounded by rainbow light and the promise of a peaceful future, Jake Morrison realized that he had found something more precious than any diplomatic victory. He had found a family, a love, and a purpose that would last forever. The galaxy was safe, and the Morrison family was just beginning their adventure together.